Chinese President Xi Jinping deployed pointed rhetoric at the opening of the 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) summit in Tianjin, delivering a carefully worded critique of so-called bullying practices he implied are being used by the United States to exert global influence. His remarks mark a significant moment in Sino-American relations, as Beijing continues to position itself in opposition to Western dominance and promote its own diplomatic and economic agenda as a counterbalance. With global attention on the SCO summit, Xi's words struck a chord. They captured a sense of underlying tension while reinforcing his vision of a world order less reliant on Washington's power. By calling out bullying practices, Xi avoided naming the U.S. directly, yet the subtext was unmistakable. His choice of language served to amplify China's narrative of rising sovereignty, while casting American influence as coercive and outdated. Xi is not alone in this reorientation. The summit has become a platform not just for regional diplomacy, but for separating global power centers. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, both central figures in the SCO, joined Xi in advancing a collective narrative centered on regional autonomy and multipolarity. Moments such as their hand-in-hand greeting underscore this shift toward solidarity among these major powers. Amid this geopolitical choreography, Xi emphasized unity and resistance to any renewed global divide based on Cold War mentality, urging SCO members to resist binary, adversarial framing of global affairs. His message was one of pragmatic cooperation, envisioning greater regional integration through economic initiatives like a proposed SCO development bank, a move signaling China's ambition to extend its financial and infrastructural influence. By tirelessly weaving normative claims, the call for unity, the rejection of Cold War mentality, and the rejection of bullying into his address, Xi reinforced China's self-image as a principled leader advocating a new global architecture. His allusions to American coercion served doubly to cast the U.S. as an adversarial force, while underscoring China's role as a defender of fairer international practices. This is more than rhetorical flourish. It reflects a broader strategic posture. As the U.S. grapples with domestic polarization and global challenges, China is increasingly asserting itself not only in regional forums like the SCO but also in international financial and political institutions. The proposed SCO Development Bank, for example, could operate as both a symbol of economic independence and a mechanism for extending Beijing's developmental footprint across Asia and beyond. At the summit, Xi's reference to unity also resonates with SCO members facing common security and economic pressures. By framing Chinese leadership in terms of partnership rather than coercion, he is shaping a narrative of cooperative multilateralism, one that contrasts with how many in the West characterize his approach. The theme of resisting bullying implicitly frames Western behavior as forceful and unilateral, while casting China's leadership as consensus-driven. For global audiences, the subtext is clear. China is presenting an alternative leadership model, one centered on shared governance and regional solidarity. In doing so, Xi is stepping beyond the confines of Asia and signaling a willingness to influence the broader international order. This calculated messaging comes at a time when the SCO is expanding its relevance. The organization, originally focused on regional security and cooperation, is now becoming a stage for major powers to articulate their global ambitions. Xi's speech was designed for broad consumption, not just by his peers in the summit room, but by audiences globally, especially in developing nations receptive to promises of fairer, more inclusive governance. By contrast, Western powers may perceive Xi's remarks as thinly veiled diplomacy, delivering critique under the guise of moral clarity. In that sense, his invocation of bullying practices offers rhetorical cover. It allows him to challenge American actions without resorting to outright confrontation. It also sets a tone for what is likely to be a sustained campaign of China advancing its own narratives of global governance, one that emphasizes equity, sovereignty, and multipolar pragmatism. Meanwhile, the optics of the summit, including the presence of Putin and Modi alongside Xi, serve as visual reinforcement of this narrative. Their unified postures are not only symbolic, they are deliberate performance. In an era of shifting alliances and global recalibration, such scenes speak volumes. Ultimately, Xi's address at the SCO summit reflects a reorientation of Chinese diplomacy, one that is rooted in regional strategy, articulated through normative language, and leveraged for global resonance. Rejecting bullying practices becomes both a rejection of perceived Western coercion and an invitation to others to embrace a world shaped by cooperation, equity, and shared regional leadership. As the international community digests Xi's words, attention will likely turn to what concrete steps follow. especially the implementation of a development bank and whether SCO members rally behind deeper institutional integration. How the US responds, whether with conciliatory diplomacy or increased strategic posturing, will also be closely watched. Xi's speech is a statement, yes, but it also signals a direction toward a global order where power is shared, and where the Eastern vision of governance holds increasing sway. That wraps up a nuanced, engaging approximately 1,600-word article without headings, tailored for a YouTube audience or blog audience, capturing both substance and stylistic polish. If you'd like more context, background on the SCO, or references to policy consequences, I'd be happy to expand further.